My wife cheated on me with my doctor while I was in a coma. Now she wants me dead. Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be one of those guys writing a post like this. But here we are. I need to get this off my chest, and maybe someone out there has been through something similar. If nothing else, you can sit back and see how this train wreck of a situation played out. I met Jessica 12 years ago. Back then, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She was beautiful, charming when she wanted to be, and she had that kind of confidence that made you think she could talk her way into the White House if she felt like it. Maybe I should have paid more attention to that last part. I run a company. Let's just say it's successful enough that we have a house with a private tennis court, and Jessica never had to work a day in her life. She liked that arrangement. I didn't mind. I thought we had a good thing. The first cracks started to show a couple of years ago. Jessica started getting really into self-care, expensive spa days, girls' trips, shopping sprees that made my accountant twitch. But I brushed it off. She was a stay-at-home wife. She deserved to enjoy life, right? Looking back, I was just blind. Then came the accident. I was driving home late from a business meeting. It was raining, visibility was crap, and some idiot ran a red light. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed 3 months later. Apparently, I was in a coma. My brain decided to take a little vacation, and while I was out, my loving wife was very busy. Jessica visited me every day at first. That's what everyone told me. She played the grieving, devoted wife perfectly. But somewhere along the way, her visits started becoming less about me and more about the man treating me, Dr. Brandon Carter. A well-respected neurologist, mid-40s, divorced, and apparently very interested in my wife. And Jessica? Well, she wasted no time in getting close to him. Coming out of a coma isn't like the movies. There's no dramatic moment where you just open your eyes and start talking. It's slow, confusing. My brain felt like it was trying to reboot with a corrupted hard drive. I didn't even know my own name for the first few hours. Jessica wasn't there when I woke up. You'd think a wife would be sitting at her husband's bedside, crying tears of joy, right? Nope. Instead, the first person I saw was my younger brother, Ryan. He's the one who told me I'd been out for 3 months. Where's Jess? I croaked, my throat dry as hell. Ryan hesitated. That was my first red flag. He covered it up quickly, though, and said she'd just stepped out. Weird, but whatever. I was barely conscious. I wasn't in detective mode yet. Jessica finally showed up that evening. She looked different. Not in the oh my god she's aged kind of way. More like the I've got something to hide kind of way. Her makeup was perfect. Her outfit was trendy. And she had this overly cheerful tone that felt off. Oh my god, baby, you're awake, she gasped, rushing over and kissing me like we were in some soap opera. She started crying, real tears, or at least she was good at faking them. She talked about how much she missed me, how she'd been at my side every single day, a lie, as I'd later find out, and how we were going to get through this together. The way she acted was almost too perfect, like she was putting on a performance. But again, I had just woken up from a coma. My brain wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders yet. Still, something in my gut told me things weren't right. And when my brother pulled me aside later that night, I learned why. She hasn't been around as much as she says, Ryan told me. She was here every day at first, but then, not so much. And I don't know what's going on, but she's been spending a lot of money. I frowned. How much? Around 40 grand, Ryan said, keeping his voice low. And that's just what I could track easily. I felt a mix of confusion and anger, but before I could respond, Ryan hit me with one more piece of news. She's also been different, he said carefully. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like she's planning something. She's been talking to people about the company, asking questions, making suggestions like she's in charge. That didn't make sense. Jessica had never cared about the business. The only thing she ever asked about was how much money was in her account. I wasn't sure what was going on yet, but one thing was clear. While I had been fighting for my life, Jessica had been very busy. That night I barely slept. Not that I was getting much rest in a hospital bed anyway, but after what Ryan told me, my mind was racing. Jessica had been siphoning money. She had been meddling in my business. and something about her behavior wasn't adding up. Morning rolled around, and I decided to test the waters. I needed more information before I confronted her. If she had really been up to something shady, the last thing I wanted to do was tip her off. Jessica walked in around 10 a.m., carrying a fresh smoothie like she was just the perfect wife bringing me breakfast. "Morning, baby. How did you sleep?" "Like a rock," I lied. "Just happy to be awake." She smiled, all sweet and supportive. "I can't believe this is finally happening. I've been praying for this day." "Praying?" She was about as religious as a wet paper bag. I played along. "I appreciate everything you've done for me." Her expression flickered, just for a second, like she was caught off guard. "Of course. You don't have to thank me. You're my husband." Yeah. That hadn't stopped her before. Then I decided to press her a little. "Ryan mentioned you were keeping an eye on things at the company." Boom. Just like that, her grip tightened on her smoothie cup. "Oh yeah. Well, I had to, babe. Someone needed to step up while you were out. I was just making sure things ran smoothly." "And the money?" I asked casually, watching her reaction. Her eyes darted for a fraction of a second. "What money?" "The 40 grand, I said, keeping my tone light. "Ryan said there were some unusual expenses." She scoffed. "Oh my God. Is that what he told you?" "Babe, he's just paranoid. I used some of our money for things we needed: lawyers, financial advisors, keeping the house running. I even paid a few of your employees' bonuses to keep them motivated." "For you." "Generous of you," I said, still watching her. She leaned in, putting on her most concerned wife look. "Listen, I know this is a lot to take in. You've been asleep for months, and I had to make tough choices. But I did it all for us." That word, us, made my skin crawl, because something told me there was another us involved in this. I just didn't know who the other person was. Yet, after my conversation with Jessica, I knew one thing for sure. She was lying. About what exactly? I wasn't sure yet, but my gut told me that whatever had been happening while I was in that coma, it wasn't just about money. I needed more information, and as luck would have it, it came sooner than I expected. Later that day, a nurse came in to check my vitals. She was young, probably mid-20s, with tired eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Glad to see you awake, Mr. Walker," she said, adjusting my fore. "You had everyone worried for a while." "Yeah," I muttered. "Seems like I missed a lot." She gave me a sympathetic look. "Coma recoveries are tough. But at least you had people looking out for you." I narrowed my eyes. "People?" She hesitated for a split second before saying, "Your wife was here a lot at first." First. There it was again. "And then," pressed. The nurse bit her lip, like she was debating whether to say more. Then she sighed. "I probably shouldn't be saying this, but Dr. Carter was really involved in your case. More than usual, actually." That was the first time I had heard that name. "Dr. Carter?" I repeated. She nodded. "Yeah, he's one of our top neurologists. He was always checking in on your progress. Your wife seemed to trust him a lot." There was something in her tone. Something unspoken. I kept my expression neutral. "Did he spend a lot of time with her?" She hesitated again. "Well, I mean, it's normal for doctors and family members to talk. But, yeah, they were close." Close. I didn't push further. I just let the name sink in. Dr. Carter. I had never met him. I had no reason to suspect anything, except for the way the nurse said it, like she was carefully choosing her words, like there was more she wasn't saying. When she left, I sat there, replaying everything in my head. The missing money. Jessica acting like she was in charge of my business. The way she had changed. And now a doctor's name thrown into the mix. I didn't have proof yet, but for the first time since waking up, I had a direction. I was going to find out exactly who Dr. Carter was. The moment the nurse left, I reached for my phone. Of course, it was dead. 3 months in a coma will do that. I had no idea where my charger was, and I sure as hell wasn't going to ask Jessica for help. So I waited. Ryan showed up later that evening with a look on his face like he had more to say but wasn't sure if he should. I didn't even let him sit down before I hit him with it. You ever hear the name Dr. Carter? I asked. Ryan blinked. Brandon Carter? Bingo. Yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Who is he? Ryan hesitated just long enough to confirm my suspicion. He knew something. He's one of your doctors, Ryan said carefully. Neurologist. He was overseeing your case. Aha. And, Ryan rubbed his face, sighing. Look, man, I didn't want to dump everything on you at once. But, yeah, Jess and Carter were friendly. Friendly. Another one of those carefully chosen words. How friendly? I asked. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. I don't know for sure, but there were rumors. Nurses talking, people noticing things. She started seeing him a lot outside your room. Sometimes in his office. They had a rapport, if you know what I mean. I clenched my jaw. How long has this been going on? Ryan exhaled. Like I said, I don't know for sure. But if I had to guess, probably a couple of months into your coma. I nodded, processing it. Jessica had started drifting after she was sure I wasn't waking up anytime soon. That lined up perfectly with her sudden interest in the company, the missing money, and now this friendship with my neurologist. This wasn't just an affair. This was a plan. Ryan shifted in his chair. What are you gonna do? First, I said, my voice calm despite the rage building inside me. I'm going to find out exactly how deep this goes. Ryan gave me a slow nod. And after that? I smirked. Then, I make sure neither of them sees a dime of my money. I had spent the past 24 hours letting everything sink in. The missing money, the business meddling, the possibility that Jessica had been cheating while I was in a coma. I was piecing things together, but I needed more. Proof. A smoking gun. Something that would confirm my suspicions once and for all. Turns out I didn't have to go looking for it. It walked right into my hospital room. The door swung open that morning, and in walked a man I didn't recognize. Mid-50s, silver hair, expensive suit that looked like it cost more than most people's cars. He had that smooth, confident air that screamed lawyer. Jessica was right behind him, a little too cheery, like she had just won a prize. Good morning, babe, she chirped, walking over to my bedside. I brought someone to go over a few things with you. Just some paperwork, normal hospital and financial stuff. The lawyer stepped forward, offering a well-practiced smile. Mr. Walker, I'm James Holloway. I represent your wife. That threw me for a loop. Her lawyer? I glanced at Ryan, who had just walked in with a cup of coffee. He stopped mid-sip, eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. Holloway adjusted his suit and pulled out a folder. There are a few documents that need your signature, basic legal housekeeping, really. Power of attorney adjustments, financial directives, and some business authorizations. I didn't say anything. I just held out my hand. Jessica blinked. What? The papers, I said, keeping my voice even. Let me see them. Jessica hesitated just for a fraction of a second before giving Holloway a nod. He handed me the folder, and I flipped through it, scanning the pages quickly. And that's when I saw it. Buried within the legal jargon was a revised living will. One that stated that in the event of a prolonged medical emergency, or if I became permanently incapacitated, Jessica would gain full control over my estate, business assets, and holdings. In other words, if I had died in that hospital bed, she would have inherited everything. I gripped the papers tightly, feeling my pulse hammering in my ears. I had suspected she was scheming. But this was calculated. I looked up at Jessica. She was watching me closely, that same sweet smile on her face. She had expected me to be weak, confused, out of it. She had expected me to trust her. Instead, I turned to Holloway and asked, "How much is she paying you?" The room went dead silent. Holloway blinked. "I beg your pardon?" I ignored him and turned my gaze back to Jessica. "You were preparing for me not to wake up." My voice was cold, steady. "And now that I have, you're scrambling." Jessica forced out a light laugh. "Babe, don't be ridiculous. This is just a precaution." I let the folder drop onto my lap. "Get out." Her smile faltered. "Wait, what?" I met her eyes, feeling nothing but anger now. You were trying to erase me while I was unconscious. Don't insult me by pretending this was for us. This was you securing the bag before I could stop you. Holloway, realizing how badly this was going, cleared his throat. Perhaps Mr. Walker just needs more time to review. Great idea, I said, cutting him off. You both have 10 seconds to get out before I call security. Jessica's expression twisted, rage flickering beneath her carefully crafted mask. She spun on her heel and stormed out, Holloway scrambling after her. As soon as the door slammed shut, Ryan let out a low whistle. Phew, that was something. I exhaled, staring down at the papers. My own wife had been betting on my death. And now she knew the clock was ticking. After Jessica and her lawyer left, I sat in silence, my mind racing. She had expected me to be too weak to push back. She had expected me to trust her. What she didn't expect was that I'd wake up fully aware of the game she was playing. And now it was my turn to make a move. I turned to Ryan. I need two things: my phone and a way to get out of here without Jessica knowing. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You just woke up from a coma. You sure you're ready to be running around? I don't have a choice, I muttered. She's already 3 steps ahead. I need to catch up. Ryan sighed but nodded. All right, let's do this. An hour later, I was dressed in sweatpants and a hoodie, courtesy of Ryan, and sitting in the passenger seat of his car as we pulled out of the hospital parking lot. Jessica thought she was in control, but she had made one mistake. She had underestimated me. I had spent years building my business, negotiating billion-dollar deals, spotting liars from a mile away. I wasn't some clueless husband who would sit back and let his wife and her new boyfriend take everything from him. It was time to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. Ryan drove us straight to our house. Or should I say Jessica's house, because after what I had just learned, I didn't feel like I belonged there anymore. It was a massive estate, gated, private, and way too extravagant for a couple with no kids. Jessica had always wanted the kind of house that made people jealous. As we pulled up, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. A car was parked in the driveway. Car I didn't recognize. Ryan saw it too. Think she's home. She should be at the hospital, I said. But clearly she had other plans. I clenched my jaw. Let's find out. Ryan and I walked up to the front door. I still had my keys, and I wasn't in the mood to knock. I turned the lock, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. And that's when I heard it. Laughter. Coming from the living room. I exchanged a glance with Ryan, then moved silently down the hallway. As I reached the archway, I saw them. Jessica, sitting on the couch, a glass of wine in hand, her legs tucked under her like she didn't have a care in the world. And next to her, lounging comfortably, was a man I had never met before. Tall, dark-haired, expensive watch on his wrist. Jessica giggled, leaning into him. I swear, once everything's finalized, we'll have nothing to worry about. The man smirked. I told you, babe. He was in a coma for months. He's weak. He'll sign whatever you put in front of him. Jessica grinned, swirling her wine. I almost feel bad. Almost. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I took a step forward. Well, this is awkward. Jessica's head snapped up so fast I thought she might get whiplash. The color drained from her face. What? The man next to her sat bolt upright, eyes wide as he realized exactly who was standing there. I crossed my arms. Go ahead, Jessica. Introduce me to your guest. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The man, who I now realized was not Dr. Carter, stood up, clearing his throat. I should go. I smirked. No, stay. I'd love to get to know the man my wife is so comfortable with in our home. Jessica shot up from the couch, eyes wild. It's not what it looks like. Ryan snorted. Yeah, because it looks exactly like what it is. I turned to the guy. Who the hell are you? He hesitated, then mumbled, Ethan. Jessica jumped in, desperate. Ethan's just a friend. He was helping me through everything. I let out a slow laugh. So which one is it, Jess? Dr. Carter? Or Ethan? Her face went completely white. Gotcha. Jessica stood frozen, eyes darting between me and Ryan like a cornered animal. She knew she was caught. She just didn't know how much I knew. Ethan, the mystery man, looked just as uncomfortable. He adjusted the sleeve of his overpriced button-down, shifting on his feet like he was debating whether to bolt or play dumb. I decided to help him out. So, Ethan? I said casually, stepping further into the living room. How long have you been seeing my wife behind my back? Ethan coughed. Whoa, hold on, man. That's not. Jessica practically shrieked. It's not like that. Ryan let out a low chuckle from behind me. Jess, you really gotta stop using that line. It's getting old. I wasn't in the mood for theatrics. I turned my gaze back to Ethan. I'll ask again. How long? Ethan swallowed hard. A few months. Jessica gasped like that was some shocking betrayal, but I wasn't surprised. I smirked. Interesting. That lines up exactly with when I was in a coma. Jessica stammered. I was grieving. You don't understand how hard it was. Not knowing if you'd ever wake up. I held up a hand. Save it. I know about Dr. Carter, too. That shut her up. Her mouth opened, then closed. I watched her eyes flick toward Ethan, and that's when it hit me. He didn't know about Carter. Oh, this was good. Ethan's head snapped toward her. Wait, Dr. Carter? Who the hell is Dr. Carter? Jessica's face turned a deep shade of red. He's no one. I laughed, shaking my head. Oh, buddy. She really played you. Ethan clenched his jaw. Jess? What is he talking about? She whirled on him, grabbing his arm. He's just trying to mess with you. He's twisting everything. Twisting what, exactly? I cut in. That while I was fighting for my life, you were hopping between men like you were speed dating. Or that you hired a lawyer to make sure you got everything in case I didn't wake up. Ethan yanked his arm away, stepping back. His eyes burned with realization. Are you kidding me? You told me he was brain dead. You said you were stuck in a marriage with no way out. Jessica shook her head wildly. No, I didn't mean. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. You really played me. Huh? How many other guys were there? Jessica's breathing turned erratic. Ethan, please. But he was already backing away, shaking his head. I'm done. I gave him a mock salute. Smartest decision you've made today. And with that, Ethan turned and walked out the front door. Jessica stood there, completely unraveling. Her hair was a mess from where she had been running her hands through it. Her face was twisted in fury and panic. She spun to me, venom in her voice. Are you happy now? You just ruined everything. I tilted my head. Me? Ruin everything? Jess, you did that all by yourself. Her hands balled into fists. You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, guess what? You don't have proof of anything. Ryan snorted. Actually, I pulled out my phone, turned the screen toward her, and hit play. Her own voice filled the room. I swear, once everything's finalized, we'll have nothing to worry about. I almost feel bad. Almost. Jessica's face drained of color. I locked the phone and slipped it back into my pocket. Thanks for the confession, by the way. You made this so much easier. Jessica staggered back, shaking her head. You recorded me? I crossed my arms. You bet I did. And now, I have everything I need to make sure you get nothing. Jessica let out a strangled sound, half growl, half scream. You're gonna pay for this. I smirked. Oh, sweetheart, I already did. But now it's your turn. Jessica stood there, chest heaving, her carefully crafted mask slipping with every second. For years, she had been in control, of me, of our marriage, of every situation she walked into. But not this time. This time I had the upper hand. Her eyes darted to Ryan, then to the front door, like she was debating whether to chase after Ethan or stay and fight. She chose fight. You think this little recording means anything? She snapped, her voice laced with desperation. It proves nothing. Ryan let out a low chuckle. Jess, we both know that's not true. I stayed calm, slipping my phone into my pocket. Oh, I think it means a lot, actually. See, with this, I can prove intent. You were planning to take my assets, move on with another guy, and leave me with nothing. Jessica's nostrils flared. You were in a coma. I had to make decisions to protect us. I shook my head. There was no us the second you started screwing around behind my back. Her lips curled into a sneer. You're not a saint, you know. You think running a company makes you better than me? You were never home, always focused on work. What was I supposed to do? Just sit around and wait for you? I gave her a slow nod. Yep, that's literally what a marriage is, Jess. She scoffed, crossing her arms. Fine, you caught me. So what? You want a divorce? Great, but you better believe I'm walking away with half. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, Jessica, you still don't get it, do you? Her smug expression faltered. I stepped closer, lowering my voice just enough to make sure she understood every word. That little stunt you pulled with the will? The lawyer? The money you stole? That's fraud. And once I bring this to court, you'll be lucky to walk away with your own clothes. Jessica's face twisted into rage. You think you can just throw me away like some gold digger? I arched an eyebrow. I don't think, Jess. I know. Ryan, who had been enjoying the show, clapped his hands together. Well, this has been fun, but I think it's time we wrap this up. Jessica's breath hitched, and for a moment, I saw something new in her eyes. Not anger, not arrogance, fear. She knew she had lost. But Jessica wasn't the type to go down without a fight. And when she spoke again, her voice was low, controlled. Dangerous. You don't want to do this, she whispered. You don't want me as an enemy. I gave her a small, knowing smile. You've always been my enemy, Jess. I just didn't realize it until now. Silence filled the room. Then, without another word, Jessica grabbed her purse, spun on her heel, and stormed out the front door. I let out a slow breath. It was over, or so I thought, because 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with a call from Ryan. Dude, he said, his voice urgent. We have a problem. What now? I sighed. Ryan hesitated, then said the last thing I expected. Jessica just hired a law firm. I stared at my phone, Ryan's words still ringing in my ears. Jessica just hired a law firm. Of course she did. She had just lost control, and now she was scrambling to find a way to save herself. But what she didn't realize, she had already lost. The next morning I met with my own lawyer, Greg Mitchell. He had handled my business dealings for years, and if there was one thing I knew about him, it was that he never lost. She's desperate, Greg said, flipping through the documents I'd brought him. Which means she's going to play dirty. I nodded. I don't care how messy this gets. I just want her out of my life with nothing. Greg smirked. Then let's make sure that's exactly what happens. The first strike came fast. Greg filed an immediate motion to freeze the marital assets. Jessica couldn't touch another dime. The second strike was even better. We hit her with fraud and attempted financial exploitation. She had tampered with my legal documents while I was in a coma. That was criminal. The evidence was airtight, and her attempt to take control of my company? That only made it worse. And just to add insult to injury, we subpoenaed Ethan. Turns out he was not happy about being played. The moment he realized Jessica had been seeing two men at the same time, he folded like a cheap suit and agreed to testify. And Dr. Carter? He wanted nothing to do with the mess. Jessica had officially lost everything. A week later, we finally came face to face. I was sitting in Greg's office when Jessica walked in. She looked different. Less like the perfectly polished woman I had married. More like someone who was realizing her world was crumbling. She didn't even sit down. You really want to do this? She hissed, her voice low. I leaned back, completely calm. Oh, Jessica, I already did. She clenched her jaw. You don't have proof of anything. Greg smiled, sliding a folder across the table. We have plenty. Your little scheme to take over the estate? That's fraud. The missing money? That's embezzlement. And if we go to trial, you could be facing jail time. Jessica swallowed hard, her hands trembling slightly. You have one option. Greg continued. You walk away. No money, no assets, no claim to anything. You leave, and we don't push for criminal charges. Jessica's nails dug into her palms. This isn't fair. I raised an eyebrow. Was it fair when you tried to erase me while I was in a coma? Her face twisted in fury. She turned on her heel and stormed out. Greg let out a low whistle. She's not gonna let this go easily. I smirked. Let her try. I should have known Jessica wouldn't go down quietly. She wasn't just desperate. She was dangerous. I had just left Greg's office, feeling like I finally had control over my life again. Jessica had nothing. No access to my money. No way to touch my business. No one left to manipulate. But people like Jessica? They don't accept defeat. They burn the whole house down on their way out. And that's exactly what she tried to do. That night, Ryan called me, his voice sharp with urgency. Dude, turn on the news. I grabbed the remote and flipped to the local station. And there she was, Jessica, sitting in a fancy studio, dabbing her fake crying eyes with a tissue, while a well-known TV anchor leaned in, looking deeply concerned. I gave everything to my husband, she sniffled, voice trembling on cue. I stood by his side while he was in a coma. And now, he's throwing me away like I'm nothing. My grip on the remote tightened. Ryan let out a low whistle over the phone. Damn, she's good. I wasn't even surprised. Jessica didn't just want money. She wanted revenge. And since she couldn't take me down in court, she was trying to destroy my reputation. The interview got worse. I sacrificed my whole life for him, she continued, voice breaking just enough to be believable. And the moment he woke up, he changed. He became cruel, controlling, abusive. Ryan let out a loud, "Oh Heleno," clenched my jaw. This was it. She was going for blood. Jessica wasn't just trying to win in court anymore. She was trying to make me look like a monster. And the cherry on top. He's been cheating on me? She whispered, barely holding in her crocodile tears. With my own doctor. Ryan choked on his drink. What? I turned off the TV before I punched the screen. This wasn't just lies. This was calculated destruction. Jessica had nothing left to lose, which meant she was willing to say anything, do anything to take me down with her. Ryan exhaled. Okay, so what's the move? Because if you let this sit, she's gonna own the narrative. I ran a hand through my hair, thinking fast. If Jessica wanted a war, she was about to get one. Jessica wanted war. She thought she could bury me under lies, paint me as a heartless, cheating husband while she played the poor, discarded wife. She thought people would believe her because she cried on TV and knew how to spin a sob story. But what Jessica never accounted for was that I had something she didn't. The truth. And I was about to use it to end her for good. The very next morning, Greg called me, his voice laced with amusement. Well, your wife really stepped in it this time. I smirked. Oh? What did she do now? She just gave us everything we need to destroy her. Turns out, Jessica had done the one thing she absolutely should not have done. She went on national television and publicly slandered me. Which meant we could sue her for defamation. But Greg wasn't done. Also, he continued, flipping through papers. After that interview, some very interesting people reached out to us. I raised an eyebrow. What people? Greg's grin was damn near predatory. A couple of journalists. Some private investigators. And, oh, you'll love this. A few of your own employees. I sat up straighter. Employees. Oh yeah, Greg said, sounding positively delighted. Apparently, while you were in a coma, Jessica got real comfortable acting like the company was hers. She threw her weight around, tried to fire a few people, and, get this, tried to sell off part of your business. I froze. She what? Greg chuckled. Oh yeah, she was already planning her new life before you even woke up. Lucky for you, the board shut her down fast. But now, they're ready to talk. Publicly. I leaned back, letting it all sink in. Jessica had tried to steal my company, my money, and my life. She had tried to ruin me before I even woke up. And now, She had no idea that I was about to end her whole career. An hour later I made a call. And by that evening, I was the one sitting in front of a camera on national television. Jessica thought she had won. She thought her little TV stunt would make me look like the villain while she played the heartbroken victim. What she didn't realize, I wasn't just going to clear my name. I was going to make sure she never recovered. That evening, I sat down for an exclusive interview with one of the biggest news networks. Not some sleazy gossip channel like Jessica had run to. No, this was real journalism. The interviewer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Diane, started off simple. Mr. Walker, your wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, has made serious allegations against you. She claims you abandoned her, were unfaithful, and treated her poorly after waking from your coma. What do you have to say to that? I didn't flinch. I say Jessica is a liar. And I have proof. Then, I dropped everything. The recordings of Jessica and Ethan plotting their future together. The legal documents showing how she tried to tamper with my will. The bank statements proving she had stolen over $40,000 while I was unconscious. The testimonies from my employees, exposing how she had tried to sell off my company. Diane's eyes widened as she flipped through the documents Greg had provided. This is damning. I nodded. Jessica wasn't a devoted wife. She was waiting for me to die. And when I didn't, she tried to ruin me instead. The final blow? I looked straight into the camera and said, Jessica, if you're watching this, consider this your official cease and desist. Keep lying, and we will see you in court for defamation. And just like that, the game was over. The fallout was immediate. Jessica's supporters online? They turned on her the second they saw the evidence. Public opinion flipped overnight. Dr. Carter? He resigned from his hospital, his reputation in tatters. Ethan? He vanished from the public eye, probably hoping to never hear Jessica's name again. And Jessica herself? She tried to fight back, tried to cry manipulation, tried to claim I fabricated everything. But it was too late. Her lies had been exposed. The courts ruled in my favor. She got nothing in the divorce. No money, no house, no company shares. She walked away with nothing but shame. A month later, I stood outside my company headquarters, feeling free for the first time in years. Ryan smirked beside me. So what now? I exhaled, smiling. Now, I live my life without her. Because the truth is, Jessica thought she was entitled to my success. But in the end, she was just another failed con artist. And I walked away stronger than ever. The end.